If you look at me, I see this light reflected in your glass.
Yeah.
That light
Oh
is
my God!
reflected in the virtual.
That's absolutely insane. Hey everybody, Adam Savage and Norm Chan in the cave, and it's time for a check-in on some Apple Vision goodness.
Yeah, we are unabashed fans of the Apple Vision Pro. It's been out for a little over a year and a half now.
We were first day purchasers.
Yes, comparing notes, doing all the updates. I went to WWDC this year to check out visionOS 26, and we had a chat about that. And just last week, Apple announced a refresh of the Apple Vision Pro. Now, the Apple Vision Pro with the M5 chip.
A 3-generation bump.
Yeah.
Which is, it's exciting when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah.
And Apple set us up with a couple of review units.
They have. So, this is our review of the new Apple Vision Pro, although I would not call this and they don't call it the Apple Vision Pro 2.
No,
this is not a sequel. It is kind of like a soft refresh, an internal hardware refresh, but still worth talking about because I think there are a lot of curious people out there about it.
Absolutely. And I would say right off the bat, just putting it on and trying it out, I can feel how much more powerful the chip is. I can feel everything's a little peppier in the edges, happening a little quicker, a little crisper.
Yeah, the way I think about it is, you said a 3-generation update. The original one was a M2 chip, which at the time when the Vision Pro came out, that was already like the previous generation chip. They were already shipping laptops and iPads with the M3 chip. So to go up 3 generations, I was curious, what does that bring? Both in terms of application performance, because you can think of it as like I'm opening a specific application, maybe a game or some type of interactive tool that requires a lot of graphical horsepower.
Right.
And what are the benefits from kind of the day-to-day use, right? So you're saying from the day-to-day use, you notice differences immediately.
Absolutely. Actually, one of my favorite pastimes with the Vision, I've banged on about this a whole bunch, but I love the app Magic Room, which is one of the apps that simply visualizes the LiDAR data, the laser dots that this is sending out to understand its surroundings, and then showing you those in wireframe. And you have some choices about how to look at them. But what I love is walking through my whole house and seeing my house in wireframe, like from above, and we can show some footage here. The thing is on the Apple Vision 1, once I got to the 3rd story of my house, that you could tell the whole machine was like coughing up blood trying to hold all this information together. And the program would frequently crash once I got to my 3rd floor. I went through the whole house with this, and it was, first of all, it was logging the data much faster. You could see it just like visualizing much quicker, but then it held the whole house in orientation for a good half hour as I walked around.
Yeah, I wouldn't call like the general experience of the original Vision Pro sluggish at all. And I went these past couple of days having both units going back and forth. And one of the things I did was I lived a full day with a new M5 unit, got used to it, and then went back to the M2 unit, and there were things I noticed.
Oh, I'm curious.
And a lot of it was maybe some of the UI. So going from the home view and going between the icons, I would notice frame hitches in the original Vision Pro that maybe I got used to before, but definitely not there in the new one. And if you have a Vision Pro, something I would encourage you to try is you can activate the gesture to show you the control menu by turning your hand. And one way you can adjust the volume is by turning your hand over and pinching your finger, and then you can slide the volume.
I dig that version.
I love it. That is much smoother in the new Vision Pro.
Well, there wasn't a feature that came out of the gate with the Vision 1. It came about halfway through the year.
Yes.
And it was needed, right? I definitely had that kind of desire. So I too noticed that it was much crisper.
If you have the original Vision Pro and you try that volume slider, I would say it worked, but if you notice a hitch, that is exactly a type of performance in day-to-day use that I noticed went away with the M5 unit. Apple also talks about 2 specific visual upgrades because it's the same hardware. Like it's the same display panel,
same chassis. The parts are interchangeable.
Chassis. Yeah, we actually weighed both of them without the straps, without any of the light seals or prescription inserts, and there is a 2-gram weight difference. So for all intents and purposes, it's the same R1 chip. They upgraded the M5 and they added 2 grams to the front of this.
Honestly, I'm going to guess that that's extra little like hold downs for the connectors and stuff like that, right?
That's negligible in terms of weight, but they have been able to push the display up to 120 hertz.
Right.
So previously it topped out at like 96 hertz, 90 hertz for most day-to-day performance, 96 if you're watching a movie because that's a multiplier of 24 frames per second.
Yep.
120 hertz manifests itself in a really interesting way because the frame rate of the cameras is still the same.
Right.
Right. So you're not getting any higher frame rate and pass-through. It's still, to me, my eyes, the same fidelity of that image, which is to say it's good enough for mixed reality.
Yeah.
I want a little more.
Sure.
I want it to be a little sharper.
Yeah, a little. When you're moving your head fast, you can get a couple little artifacts here and there.
But a little less blurry, a little less of the smearing when I move my head back and forth.
Yeah.
Really noticeable when I'm looking out. I looked out and it's like the brightest environment, the city street, the cars moving by, and the cars moving by seemed like their movement, the temporal resolution of that movement was smoother.
I found the pass-through in general to also be less prone to the kind of natural warping that can happen when you look into specific details. On the old one, there are some ways in which you can hold your hand in certain ways and see warping around it. Not at all with the second one. And again, that might have been a previous iteration. I haven't been rigorously going back and forth between the two.
I found that the perspective correct aspect of it, it's not like one-to-one.
Yeah.
It's one-to-one within the road, like your hand looking through it is one-to-one. But if you're like trying to touch your hand to your nose, it's actually, objects in Vision Pro are further away than they appear. You have to move the extra centimeter because the camera, because the camera is a little bit further out. More about that 120 hertz because applications, the developers, my understanding is they don't have to do anything. If the performance is there, if the overhead is there, the applications will run at 120 hertz. And I ran, Safari web browser. You can go to one of these websites that will test the refresh rate of a monitor.
Right.
And it read as 120 hertz.
Amazing.
So Safari is snappier, technically, I guess. But
that would follow. Yeah, they would do that.
The Mac Virtual Display, mirroring your laptop,
and this is something you use every day.
I use this all the time, both for the Mac Mini and also on the road. Like we've stated, places where you've come out and seen me on a laptop, in a headset, doing video editing, and every bit of extra frame rate helps. I found that actually the 120 hertz it wasn't rendering at 120 hertz on the laptop. In headset it might have, but running Chrome and Safari and the refresh rate testing on the laptop, it still was rendering at 60 frames per second. It could be that it's doing some frame doubling and it's making the representation of that a little smoother, but the laptop and your core computer is still running at 60 hertz. I mean, it could be a limitation of bandwidth as well. It's still Wi-Fi 6. They don't have their new modems in here. It's not Wi-Fi 7 yet, so that could be that.
I also still haven't been able to get either of these to work on the unlocking of my phone, which is a feature that I really want to get to go, but for some reason it just hasn't quite taken. I haven't quite.
You have to dive deep into the phone's menu while the headset is nearby. And there's always a little bit of a delay too. It'll pop up that says the phone.
What I'll notice is that I'll wear the Vision for a while, and I'll open up my phone, and nothing will happen. And then I'll put the Vision away, and like an hour later, my phone will be like, "We can work this out if you want." And I'm like, "I'm long away from that."
Yeah.
But anyway,
the other bit of performance improvement that for day-to-day use is they're saying it's an increase in 10% amount of pixels being rendered. And
what does that actually mean? The pixels being rendered, like, does that mean that the cloud of foveated, the stuff they're focusing, what you're looking at, is that cloud gotten bigger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because again, the display is the same micro OLEDs. It's that same number of technically same number of pixels per eye. It does do foveated rendering, and I think they're saying that the focus spot, the areas that you're actually looking at, you're doing a little bit of what's called super sampling on that, so that you're getting even anti aliasing. And the text can look sharper in those cases.
I find the text sharper immediately.
You did?
The first thing, I do a lot of looking at my phone while in the Vision, and I am nearsighted, so I'm highly sensitive to being able to read, and I immediately noticed that my iPhone text was sharper on the new one.
How about looking at like web browsing in Safari or text being rendered? Because I couldn't tell the difference.
I only noticed my iPhone was a little bit more readable. That was the main one, because I'm, like I said, I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah, and all that's to say, like, they have this extra performance overhead. And it's impressive to me that they can kind of push the existing displays a little further. Because if you're talking about going from 90 hertz to 120 hertz, that's like a 33%
Yeah, it's a big deal,
right? In power consumption requirement, I'm sure it's dynamically scaled, so it's not always 120 hertz. But to get to that point, that's a nice thing they were able to do with this chip. How do you balance that with like battery life?
Well, and this is where I get excited, because I feel like they're holding back some cool stuff for later.
Oh, I'm sure there's even more.
Like on the original one, there was almost nothing that you could do that would turning over your hand to be able to look at that was one of the few things to get the vision to recognize and interact with. Right, it works with your laptop, sees your phone. I'm excited with a 3-generation chip bump, how much more it could be able to do with objects that it sees and registers.
And I'm also wondering, because the R1 chip, the other chip, specialty chip they made that does the image processing of the cameras and the low latency, a mixed reality, is that the chip that needs to get upgraded to get the type of object recognition that you and I really want? Yeah. Battery life, though, they say it's rated for up to 2.5 hours of normal use and like 3 hours of video. I did 2 full rundown tests, and I didn't get anywhere near that. Okay. So
Apple is almost a unicorn in tech, in that they're usually undersell their battery performance.
Yeah. In this case, I was using my test environments were how I would actually really use it. So in mixed reality, streaming video from YouTube TV. So I watched like SNL this past weekend on this. I watched a whole entire football game on this. And my first rundown, and with like Reddit open and messages and widgets, right? An hour, 51 minutes. And it went from 100 to 1%, which was right around the original Vision Pro, at like 2 hours of battery life. And then the second rundown was 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think with the fine print, the way Apple claims the way they get 3 hours is if you're not using mixed reality, if you're like in a cinema environment. And if you're like watching a 2D video that you downloaded or something from their Apple TV library. Right. Because mixed reality is power hungry.
Sure. I'm curious about sports, because I am not a big watcher of sports, but I know that it is a feature that these have about watching sports. So tell me about that experience.
Yeah. So, and they actually just announced Apple Immersive Video for live sports, which we haven't experienced that yet. I think select like Lakers games this year, they're going to have, real-time streaming courtside, in unique perspectives. I can't wait for that.
Up till now, each of the Apple immersive experiences for the Vision have been jaw-dropping and amazing. I've watched every one of them. They're incredible. The Weeknd's music video is like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
And there's some great third-party with the new, Ursa cinema cameras and Blackmagic. That's like people are making great stuff as well and figuring out that pipeline. But for most people, flat sports. There's more content, flat content, right? Like, I'll tell you, this weekend, football is going on. I had my big screen TV, and the kids could be watching a kids movie. And I had my virtual Safari window with YouTube TV overlaid on top of that. So I didn't need to look at that at all. But we're all kind of looking in the same direction.
Amazing.
And I would just turn the volume down for me and turn it up when need be. It was also all positionally tracked. I had one wall, had my Reddit feed to refresh the comments. I got my chat thread, my friends in this one, and then the widgets looking at the time, and like, they live with dad wearing this headset, and I get to watch what I watch on the same kind of flat surface.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh my God.
I thought it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I can totally imagine. Yeah. And when this stuff is all built into these, that's an amazing reality of sitting. You and your partner could be watching 2 different shows.
Or the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
In shared spaces. And all of this, of course, incorporates all the visionOS 26 updates we talked about this summer.
Right, better personas, which get better with every incremental update.
We've now done these FaceTime chats with half dozen people, and it's compelling.
It's really compelling. The thing about whatever you've seen about the personas isn't necessarily wrong. There is a little uncanniness to them, but they're the best renders out there. And when you are talking to someone you know and making actually, even we've had meetings with people we hadn't met before.
That's the
when
thing.
you are making eye contact, all that uncanny goes away because you're actually talking to a person and the latency is so low. The interaction is completely conversational, which is not similar to a cell phone, right? Where, you know, my signal is interrupting yours and vice versa. And, you know, we can't actually have a real conversation on the cell phone.
I want to jump on that because that was the new thing that we hadn't tried was conversations with folks that we didn't know. Previously, you, Jeremy, and I would, you know, have these calls, and we know each other, we know our mannerisms, but it was interesting and new to chat with someone that I had not met and see the persona and realize how quickly I would get acclimated to having conversation that way.
More than that, it was 5 people, right? Yeah, we had 5 people, and we were all sitting around this table.
Yeah.
And at one point, I'm listening to somebody, and I turn to the person next to me, and we have a little like interaction in a virtual space. That was amazing. That was the most like I'm getting chills as I describe it. Was the most I am there, right? Because we were having a side channel sort of shrug about what was going on, and all of that was engendered by this. That blows my mind.
You say we because I wasn't even physically in the room.
No, I know, right? You were in I was alone here. You were in another building,
exactly.
And all the other 3 people were in 3 other states, right?
Yeah.
That just fascinating.
So I think performance-wise, like there are things like you said, Magic Room improvement, a jig space. You know, that's a enterprise tool with heavy 3D models. That felt really smooth. It's a soft refresh, right? What I'm excited about is the fact that there may be a lot of the original Vision Pros now hitting the used marketplace.
A secondary market where you can pick them up for a reasonable. I'm very excited about that.
And it's like I think the average price now you get like maybe like $2,000. It's a lot of money. But if you have the money and you didn't want to spend, you know, $3,500 plus base price to get in on this, $1,500 to $2,000 is a great price, I think, to get in on something that still gets all the software updates and you can also work with all the new accessories.
Yeah. Okay, so can we talk some accessories?
Let's do it. That's the other big update.
The first thing that happened when these arrived is that I had my old Vision here, and I had thought that I had kept my old Vision relatively clean.
Oh.
But we pulled out my strap and looked at it compared to a new strap.
Heavy use, right there.
Heavy use. You say, we weighed this off camera and we were able to determine that there's 2 grams of just like my skin cells in here. It's 2 grams heavier than the new one.
It's that extra 3-generation chip right there on there. Yeah. So this was the original Solo strap, right?
This is the original.
I think we love the aesthetic of this. It's a knit design. It's one of those like, you know, Apple can do it really well and put all the effort into making something with one piece of thread, make this beautifully designed thing. But I think it's fair to say like this was not our favorite strap.
It was not our favorite strap, and the headsets, the Vision suffered from wearability problems, which were largely attacked by the fan base. Right? I mean, I have like 5 different hovering and head restraint systems.
Yep.
You connected me up when the ResMed went back on sale because they're rare and they're hard to get. So I got one of those, and I actually love the ResMed. But this thing that the Apple ships with, this new one, which will go into its features, is the best for me, the best head restraint system I've yet used.
Yeah. So if people recall, there was this like jockstrap looking dual one, right?
That's in there somewhere.
And this I think fit better than the Solo, but wasn't as nice. It didn't have it was Velcro, it didn't have the knit, right?
Yep.
So this is what they're calling the dual knit band. And
I was doing this. I had the small band and I was using the 3D printed pieces.
Exactly the same thing. Right? 3D printed attachment for the dual Solo, right? And I'll call a couple things. One, the angle of where these are. So this is the ResMed.
Right.
And this was my favorite one. And I would say, well, we'll talk about which ones are favorites. But the important part was this back portion cupped the back of my head.
Yeah.
Right? And this strap is the top right?
So center top?
A little front.
Okay,
the front,
right,
yeah.
okay.
And this keeps a lot of the weight off of the front of the face, and this helps pull it up so the weight, while it's still there, isn't pressed against your face. It's not like a ski glasses. You also notice this has weights in the back, so counterweight system. So technically, this is actually a pretty heavy strap, right? 270 something grams with the 4 weights.
It does not feel that heavy.
It doesn't, because it's not as exhausting to wear. And if you compare what Apple did with what Resmed did, they took 2 of these 3 and have now a back strap that, again, cups the back of your, cradles the back of your skull, as well as this top strap that is a little more forward angled and takes the weight off of the front. What's also impressive is that there are weights in this.
That's what blew my mind wide open, is the weights in there, because the very idea, you immediately, I was like, what's going on? And you were like, they have flexible tungsten weights in there.
Right. And it's only on the outside. It's not adjustable, it's this fixed weight.
Right.
And you can feel the inside is still soft, but on the outside, in each of these tubes is flexible tungsten, which again stretches this way and malleable this way, so you can lean on your bed or sit on the couch and not have any of the weights bumped.
I really appreciate the lack of stuff on the back for that. This is my favorite headset yet.
The head strap,
The head strap. For the shroud, I also like a floater.
Right.
Not always. Like for watching movies, I much prefer the what do you call this thing?
The light seal.
The light seal. I much prefer the light seal, but I use this floater when I'm doing interactive stuff.
Here's an interesting thing. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah.
And this is like a 3D printed headpiece. It's like the equivalent of this forehead, but notice where this grips onto the Vision Pro. It grips on the arms.
Way up front,
And by gripping on the arms, you're taking more of that weight off the front even. And that's why it works. That's why the system they have doesn't work as great without the light seal. You need there's a little bit of the headrest, the forehead rest that you still need on the facial interface. I want to show people how this also tightens.
This tightening thing is all, again, it's a level of intuitiveness that is not even necessary, but so welcome and amazing.
So again, this is that solo strap, and this one just turned to tighten the 2 strings on the top and bottom.
And anyone that's tightened up snowboard boots knows the feeling of this kind of device.
Yeah, that's great. This is a 2-stage action where you can pull it out, you have it pressed in, pull this out, and when you have it out, that's tightening the top part.
Yeah.
And I find that that's good for raising and lowering the Vision Pro on your face. And then if you push it in, you're then tightening the cradle portion on the back.
You know, this is one where it took me a few tries to kind of get the balance between the two, that the lightness, and I'm sure they've run specs that like everyone's a little different, right? What you prefer, what you can tolerate. It is so fast and intuitive. I was really shocked by how, because like on the one that I was using, a second smaller knit, like I had to remember which one I'm touching and all this. This was just instant.
That is one of the things that makes this just, again, easy to put on, easy to take off. We got size using the phone scan, right? Because this comes in 3 sizes. And what's interesting is for the original Solo head strap, I was sized for medium, and I think you were as well. For this one, we were sized for large.
Interesting.
So if you have an existing Solo strap, do the actual scanning.
And you can trust them. We're finding.
And the large one worked really well. I think the medium would have been too small. This is $100. And this is coming standard. So if you buy a Vision Pro with the M5 chip now, you get the dual knit. You don't get the Solo. You don't get this guy.
I am buying one of these for my first gen. I'm totally
fully
doing
compatible.
That. And you said about putting it on and taking it off. That is actually the feature of this head strap that I find my favorite, which is there can be an issue with different head restraint systems about their repeatability. This thing looks at my eyes where they're looking, and its registration has to be within a fairly narrow bandwidth, and this is spectacular about bringing you right back there. As soon as I bring this down here, this just immediately hits right back to the eye relationship that I've adjusted for.
Yep.
And I found the least amount of translation between taking it on and taking it off and putting it back on.
And don't be afraid to make sure that is low.
Exactly. Yeah. No, super nice and low.
The back
it's
of your
spectacular
skull
that way.
and tight. I'll say that I still think the headset feels like it weighs less in the front with the ResMed.
The ResMed, yeah, okay.
And the ResMed, for me, feels like it has a better grip on my head, the back, so that it feels less like there's the weight in the front.
Yep.
But I think for day-to-day use, I will probably stick with the dual knit. One, because I love the knit design, and it is easier, much easier to put on with the Fit Dial.
Yeah, it really is. And all of this fits really beautifully in small containers.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point. Yeah, this doesn't collapse as easily.
This doesn't collapse as easily.
Yeah.
This fits handily in my little dumb lunchbox that I made for it. I want to bring up one thing, which is in this day and age when our phones are arriving with no chargers anymore, the new Apple Vision arrives with a pretty sweet little 30-watt charger.
40 watt now.
40-watt dynamic, so it can go up to 40 watts.
40 up to 60.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I was totally wrong about that.
yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. The old one was 30, and I actually didn't even use the 30. I used a third-party one.
I use a 60-watt for everything because I've got like 3 of them around the house. But this is very useful for travel, being 40 to 60.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to take a Lumafield look inside. I'm sure that is packed with freaking gills.
Someone's gonna do it. Of course, visionOS 26 fully out now. Supports accessories like track PSVR 2
I
controllers.
got to get these.
They're gonna start selling these for $250 for a pair. Although I'm sure you could find someone who wants to offload their full PSVR 2 unit for around that same price, and they just very easily pair. Not a ton of games and applications like have full support. You can navigate the UI, but there's a great like table tennis game, pickleball game.
I mean, you know, I had so much fun, years and years worth of great fun with the Quests, right? The 2, the 3, the Pro, and the hand controllers are a key part because it doesn't look where my eyes are looking. It's a very different kind of interface. So I'm really looking forward to the precision that this yields. Because there's still some things that are difficult on this. Watching some video on the web can be difficult in terms of getting to the controls. They're like a little bit smaller than the interface wants.
Yeah, it still works with eye tracking. There's no raycast, laser pointer, or anything like that.
Nice.
And there's that new Logitech stylus that's also tracked.
I'm looking forward to playing with that.
We haven't used that yet.
No, we have no idea what that's going to be like.
You know, I'm excited that they finally put the new chip on here.
Yeah.
This is a great solve.
Really
I think anyone with an existing Vision Pro, it's worthwhile spending the $100 to invest in a dual knit head strap. And if you're Vision Pro curious, I think it's worth scouring the used marketplace and seeing if you can get one for that $1,500 to $2,000.
I really do. And I want to say, like, philosophically, you know, it's hard to justify an expense like this. I personally feel, or I feel like I know that this is where computing will be in 20 years. It will be looking through interfaces like this. So for me, this is an experience that is rare within my life to get in on the elevator on the ground floor and watch this technology bloom and become something.
20 months later, it still feels really delightful.
Yeah.
And a little magical.
I totally agree.
And not gimmicky. Like, I enjoy.
Right, you are using it to cut and work on.
Yeah, I'm using it to work. I'm using it to watch like long form entertainment. It's great for travel.
We both travel with them every time we hit the road.
And it just tells me, you know, with a new soft refresh of this, that Apple is committed, you know, to continue supporting it, developing for it, getting developers to work on it, which is great. Great for the platform.
I'm excited about some of the new features, the new chip abilities might be able to make possible. Apple, I want some dumb stuff to do with this.
Cool. Well, thank you, Apple, for getting us early units to review. If you have questions about the new Apple Vision Pro with M5 chip, please post them in the comments below, and we'll check in a couple months again.
Absolutely. If there's stuff you guys want us to cover that we haven't covered here, let us know. If there's questions you have, we'll address them next time.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
So I have a 3D model here, and I'm going to see if I can share with you. Adam Savage, you are nearby. Let's share our window.
All right, hold on.
Did you get a notification, an invite?
Wait. Continue. Hold on.
So no personas. Do you see this right here?
Whoa! Holy
So no personas.
No personas.
We're in the same shared space,
Yeah.
co-location, but we both can see this 3D model.
That's amazing. Holy
Right?
cow.
Like,
ooh.
and I'm turning it. You can see me turn it, right?
Yeah, I can see you turning it. Can I try
Right?
turning it?
Yeah.
Wait. Amazing.
But I can make this bigger. Like a giant Vision Pro.
Wow.
Here, get close to. I'm gonna use this as a potential thumbnail option.
All right.
It's really funny. Joey can't see anything what we're seeing, but there's a giant virtual Apple Vision Pro that both Adam and I can see right here. Actually, this
Yeah,
is
it would
actually
fit
not,
on one
not
of
a bad thumbnail. You can see it, so I don't even need to prime you to gesture toward it.
Yeah.
You can,
Hi.
that is that's so funny. But you and I can both see the same thing, and we can interact with it, right? You can point at things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we can talk about the size. We can.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. You're adjusting it. There you go.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And we're in the shared space, and it's no personas. It's just right.
That's
so
amazing.
This is the collaboration thing. Same thing if I wanted to share like photo app or something.
Yeah.
Or web browser or something.
The Apple designers have included the lenses you can see beneath the screen on the front.
Yeah.
That is just showing off.
Here's the thing that's really showing off. If you look at me, I see this light reflected in your glass.
Yeah.
That light
Oh
is
my God!
reflected in the virtual.
That's absolutely insane.
Because it's mapping the room and it's looking at where the light sources are, and it has a reflection map on the 3D model. And it's not a perfect, but it's good enough to tell you the light source is right there.
It's good enough for me to feel like this is in the room we're
It's
in.
lighting it based on where the lighting is.
Wow. That's a far out. It's like I want to touch it because I feel like I can feel it. It's because when you get really close, so here I'm just like 3 inches away, and it looks like I'm seeing the weave.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, on here I can see that the weave is like a visual texture map, but on this little band, actually, I can't quite tell that. It looks dimensional. Wow. Freaking amazing.